Hey, what's going down, savages? Welcome to episode 37 of This Savage Life. I'm your host, Stefan Paulson, a.k.a. Savage Paulson, a.k.a. the guy that's fucking tired of this COVID-19 bullshit. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Happy Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, 2020. Happy Cinco de Mayo to anybody celebrating today. I normally release episodes. I've been doing my best recently to record episodes. I've been fortunate enough to have friends, great friends, interesting friends. I've been fortunate enough to being able to, have them on the podcast via Skype. Considering that we are in a pandemic and nobody can leave their fucking houses, and no one can definitely come to my house and sit down in my studio, homemade studio, to just talk. And it's something that I enjoy extremely. I probably said it on every fucking episode of my every single episode of my podcast. I enjoy talking to people, and when this whole pandemic happened, I saw an opportunity to, use technology to my advantage. It's never something that I thought I would do, because I truly enjoy having someone sitting across from me and having a discussion that way. But the circumstances, they are what they are. So I've been able to reach out, and people have been, nice enough to say yes to come on, and I've been able to record quite a few episodes recently, and been able to actually release every Tuesday and every Thursday for the past couple of weeks. And got busy. I don't know. So this week I realized, you know what? I didn't record podcasts just because normally I record them on Saturdays. Mostly because it's the time of the week that I got used to recording my podcast, because before all this, when I had a job, I didn't have time during the week to do any of this, so it was left to the weekend. And most people that I want to have on, if I want to have guests, are only available on the weekends. So, where was I going with this? I smoked too much weed. Yeah. So, I've been fortunate enough to have been able to record some episodes to be able to release a lot of podcasts recently, a couple a week, 2 a week for the past few weeks, and I'm happy with that. And people seem to be responding very well to the podcast. So, and I've mentioned in the past episodes that I was going to do my best to record and to release at least every Tuesdays and Thursday, at least once a week, but I'm really trying hard to do it twice a week. And, yesterday I'm like, I didn't record any podcasts this weekend. I didn't have guests. I didn't reach out to anybody. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll take a week off. Maybe I won't release anything this week. But then I was like, you know what? No, I said I was going to release every Tuesday, every Thursday. And, so there it is. I'm sitting down. We had dinner. I told my wife, I said, if you mind if I just go sit down in my office and record a podcast? She said, no, go ahead. I just felt like I needed to, sit down, hit the record button. It's been a while since I've done a solo episode where no one around. Let's see where it goes. It's probably going to be boring as hell. What else is there to talk about except that we're all fucking at home, It's weird times. It definitely leaves you with a lot of time to think and to process shit. For me, there's a lot of positives. I've been able to put a few things in perspective during this time, and I've been able to reconnect with a few things in my life that I'd shy away or whatever the reason was. But I've been able to kind of look at things from a different perspective. I think a lot of us during this time don't have a choice to adapt and to continue living life as normal as possible, especially if you have kids. I know for us, it's we realized early on from the get-go that this thing was going to be more than just a couple of weeks. And we acted quickly as parents to make sure that our kids' life wasn't disrupted too much. Obviously, they're not going to school. They're home every day. It's a huge change for them. They're not able to socialize with their friends and other people at school. I told my wife the other day, I said, we're lucky that we have two kids, that, you know, my son has a sister to play with and vice versa. My daughter has a big brother to play with and have fun with. Obviously, if you have two kids, you know as much as me, they get on each other's nerves sometimes and shit explodes, and, you know, it's not always pretty, but I'll be honest, like, for us, it's been going very well, and I consider myself extremely lucky and fortunate that my kids get along, that they actually want and like playing with each other. So we made sure early on, me and my wife, that we were going to have to come up with a plan and go at it as best as we can and really just adapt. And by doing that for our kids, we were forced to adapt to the situation and to this different way of living. It's if you don't have kids, if you're, you know, obviously we're all living through this COVID-19, this pandemic, this thing. We're all dealing with this differently. We're all going through this from a different perspective. For example, we're parents. We have two kids. Obviously, responsibilities to protect and make sure that our kids are safe and healthy and okay. And that life, like I said, continues in a positive and in a constructive way. Like, we don't just pause everything, you know, as far as learning and being creative and just doing certain things that you normally do. We try to, you know, keep those things going, simply to, you know, so that obviously our kids' growth isn't stunted, you know, and not the physical growth, but you know what I mean. And it forced us, me and my wife, by doing so, that to adapt to the circumstances. I'm lucky that my wife gets to work from home, and she does. And, you know, my wife is very dedicated at her job. She loves her job. And she actually taken this opportunity to, you know, to do a lot of digging and do a lot of research for her job, and to be doing a lot of the work, and really, you know, committing herself. So I'm left with, you know, doing things to obviously keep me busy, but to make sure the fucking house doesn't fall apart, you know, like and everything is, like I said, it's kept as structured as possible. And I've been fortunate and lucky enough to being able to receive the, you know, the help from the government, and because, you know, I don't work, my work closed early on. It's been 6 weeks now. Is that possible? May 13 was the last day my kids went to school. That's the first day, March 13th. Sorry, I said May, I think. March 13th. And they've been at home since March 13th. And I went to work the following week, and that was the last week. So, you know, I've been at home for 6 weeks, 6 weeks, I think. And obviously, you know, I could have easily, I think a lot of us, and it's something that I haven't seen or heard from my friends or people that I still talk with. I think everybody has been trying real hard, from what I see on social media. A lot of my friends and people that I just follow have been really doing a great job at adapting and keep, you know, try to keep living life and trying to, I see a lot of people, that's taking on new challenges and new hobbies and new things that they just didn't have the time before. But now that they're home, not working, they have the time, and I see them taking that opportunity. And that's what I did, I said, I'm going to put some steam behind this podcast. And like I said, I'm going to see this opportunity and use the technology that, I have and that everybody has. Everybody's a laptop with a webcam on it now, or a computer with everybody has a phone. Let's face it. A lot of people, I've done a few Skype where people use their phone and it's easy. Download the app. Everybody has a fucking camera. Everybody has a smartphone. So it's been, I took that opportunity and worked on other stuff, and just, I took some time off physically. I was going hard before all this. I'll admit it, for a 39-year-old. I was in the gym pretty much every day, and I was going like real hard. I was really trying to fucking dig into this chip on my shoulder during the end of 2019 and the early 2020. I was just going hard wrestling wise. I was determined beyond belief, to just be the best version of myself for my craft of professional wrestling. I've been committing my life, outside my family life, pretty much pro wrestling for the past 4 years since I started. And I know for most that's not long. I get it. But I still have a family. I still have time. I still have other things that I do, But I did see that the majority of my identity was being one of a pro wrestler, and this whole thing has given me an opportunity to just, stay home, because I ain't got nowhere to go, because I can't go anywhere. I was telling this to my wife the other day. I don't know if I mentioned it on a podcast. I apologize if I mentioned it on an early episode. But I told her, I said, it's weird. We don't have options anymore. Meaning, like, I don't have the option of going to the gym right now. It's not an option. It's closed. I can't go. So I don't go. And I don't feel the same guilt and the same resentment, whatever the feeling I feel when I have an opportunity to go to the gym. And I just don't go because I'm tired, or it's late, or, I'm sore, or whatever the fucking excuse I used to make for myself. Because every time I used to do that, instantly I knew, I'm like, this is not the right decision. I should be going to the gym. And I instantly, but, sometimes you're just like, no, I'm going to commit to this, and I'm going to convince myself that it's, it's okay. And sometimes it's okay. Let's be honest with each other. Like, but most times the excuses that I convince myself of is bullshit, and I should just man up and go to the fucking gym. And I've been pretty consistent with that mindset for quite a while, where I wasn't letting myself slip, especially the end of 2019, 2020. Like, I was slipping just like any other human being. Like, where, we have weaknesses, and, like I said, I have priorities. My priorities are set, and, my kids, my family come first, and everything outside of that is secondary. But I was telling my wife, I said, it's weird, because before, when I, stayed home on the night that I had planned, you got that day where, like, well, today's Tuesday. I always go to the gym on Tuesday. I never take, it's not my day off. It's not my rest day. And then sometimes you just get home and you're like, fuck it. I don't feel like it. I'm physically not feeling it. I'm tired. I didn't get a good night's sleep. I'm not right, and that's what happened to me a few times. Most of the times where I would convince myself it was just, I was just being a bitch. To me, that's to my standards, I will set standards for myself, and they're not low. And I always try to meet those standards every single day. And it's not always easy because I'm extremely hard on myself. So sometimes though you slip and, you convince yourself of whatever bullshit. But I was telling her, I said, I don't have that same feeling. Like I don't have that worry. It's like a worry sometimes that you're like, it's the weirdest thing. You're like, I'm not going to go to the gym today. And like, no one will ever know. No one will ever know. But in your head, you're like, somebody's watching me and somebody's noticing that I'm not putting in the work. You get like that paranoia when like, and it's probably, maybe it's just me, but it's like when I feel when you're driven hard and you're committed and you're that type of person that when you commit to something, you fucking see it through because you'll never be able. I do that now. I didn't always do that. And the reason why I do it now is because I didn't always do it. It's weird. It's like one day I woke up and I said, like, I don't want to be that person anymore that says he's going to do something and doesn't do it. I also, changed my perspective on a few things, but that's a different story for a different time maybe. But not having the option and just not being able to go to the gym, for example, and I don't have that option. I don't have that worry that I have. Like it becomes about the worry shifts kind of. It goes from like, oh, what excuse am I going to convince myself of today to not go to the gym? How much am I going to let my demons decide if I do go or not? It's more about, okay, what am I going to do to keep this thing going? I can't go to the gym anymore. I'll give you an example. I talk about the gym a lot because if you know who I am, I fucking work out all the time. So obviously one of the biggest changes outside of everything that's family connected is like a lot of my friends, we, that work out and we fucking just grind and grind, not having that outlet anymore. That was a big change for a lot of us. And most of us adapted. We started working out at home. We adapted. Sorry, even if we didn't have equipment at home like me, I just fucking just squats and push-ups and crunch, squat, like go for a run, go do the stairs, find a certain way to just work out, And do I do it religiously like I did before? No, I won't lie. Not at all. But I also realized that my demons aren't as awake. Those demons that before I needed that output. That sometimes I needed that strong like workout, like push yourself to like 90% max to just until there's nothing left. Fuck, almost every night, 2-3 nights in a row sometimes, and I was like, fuck. But my mental needed it for some reason. I was figuring out some shit, and I needed that output to be constant. But ever since this COVID-19's happened, I feel like things have changed differently, and obviously priorities have changed. Like there's a few things in my life that used to be somewhat of a priority that like it's like a daily routine. They're not priority anymore. Like I said, like it shifted at first because there was a lot of figuring out and adapting. And it's different because there's a lot of, I really realized that just being part of that daily routine of like, for me, for example, getting up from Monday to Friday every day, the same hour, between 6 and 6:30, get to work at 7, done at 3, get the kids dinner, make dinner, clean up, do all that shit. Wife gets home. I go to the gym, work out, get home 8:30, chill with the family, put the kids to bed, sit on the couch, relax a few, spend time with the wife, go to bed, rinse and repeat the next day. it's messed up because it sounds simple, right? It's the same thing every day. Like there's no worry. It's like it's automatic. Yeah, it's automatic, but there's so much stress in the day-to-day life. You know, we see everything, especially when you have kids. There's homework and there's this and there's that, and then there's like, you know, there's a lot of worries, a lot of anxiety, a lot of things that don't go according to plan. But since this whole confinement and this like stay-at-home protocol, it's like there's a lot less of those daily stress that aren't present anymore. Not only are they not present, but this time and this situation of being in a pandemic where fucking people are getting sick and dying and we can't figure it out. Like, it's fucked up, you know, and we all know it's fucked up. It doesn't matter how you see this or how you choose to see this and who you choose to blame for this fucking thing. Like, it's fucked up. So when you're sitting at home, you start going like, I don't, like that thing I was worried about every day for my life, I don't need to worry about that anymore. It's not, I'm like, fuck that. And I think a lot of us, I know for me, that slowly happened as the weeks went on, since I stopped working and since we had to adapt to this new life. Where I'm like, I'm definitely less stressed, and I don't feel the need to slay the demons by fucking running 5K and then doing 100 squats, 100 push-ups, and 100 crunches or crunches till I can't no more, like whatever that case may be. Like, I can get away with doing a few squats, a few push-ups, some shadow boxing maybe for 20-30 minutes, intense, semi-intense shadow boxing. To be honest, I've been doing a lot of that because I love doing it. Plus I have the mats now in my living room because my wife, you know, we adapted. And if you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw that I decided, you know what, fuck, if I'm going to homeschool my kids, my homeschool includes martial arts. That's my curriculum. That's on my curriculum. I think martial arts should be taught in every single school. I think it should be part of the curriculum 2-3 times a week. That's me. So I saw that opportunity. I told it, my wife said, how about I start doing, she's like, yep. So about those mats, those little plastic mats, those rubber mats you buy at Walmart, we put them in the fucking living room. Put a bunch of them. And every Monday, every Wednesday, and every Friday, from 10 to 11 in the morning, I'd have martial arts with my kids. I teach basic stuff, you know. I know what I'm doing, and I feel comfortable, and I love coaching. It's different when you coach your kids because there's an emotional attachment to it. So, you know, I know how hard I can push and how much I can scream. I don't. My wife says I do, but maybe I do sometimes. I do. But so I do that, you know, and I use those mats. I'm on it, you know, after I teach the kids. I'll do like some shadow boxing, or I'll do some squats, some push-ups, just some physical exercise, just to, you know, keep me going, keep me active. But I don't feel the need to for the output that I used to do before. You know, like before I used to go hard in the gym a lot. Like I said, 2 or 3 times a week, if not more. And it was kind of needed. It's like, it's weird, right? And I'm sure a few of you will understand this when it comes to working out. It's like, it becomes, when you do it every day or almost every day, it becomes part, your body needs it. It needs it. Like, there's a release of endorphins or whatever the fuck, some hormones when you are working out, that your body, it's like a drug. It really is. Your body is like, yo, where's my drug? So you get, for me anyway, I get irritated faster when I'm really committed, because when I'm going at it, 5 times a week, my body's like, yo, that's it. That's how we run. That's how we do it. And you get your engine, used to running at that speed. When you don't go at that speed anymore, it goes, hey, motherfucker, like, what's going on, man? Like, we're slugging up. Like, it kind of like, it yells at you and goes, yo, fucker, get your shitting gear and let's go. And I think for a lot of us, we still kind of needed that output when this shit happened. So we adapted real fast, and it's good. And I see a lot of other people that didn't work out as much before, or not at all, and that have committed to, like, you know what, I got nothing else to do, so I'm going to work out. I see everybody working out. It's easy. Everybody puts their workouts together. A lot of people are sharing their workouts online. It's beautiful. Technology is a great fucking thing when it comes to that shit. I mean, it's not great for everything, but, and yeah, I don't really know where I was fucking going with this, but I just started talking and just blah, blah, blah. All this to say, man, it's fucked up. You know, I go through the days where I tell myself, like, this is it. This is the new reality for a while. And holy fuck, what the hell? A piece of skin over here just flapping on my thumb. I don't know what the hell. Like, not just small. Like, how did I fucking... Yo, and how is it not bleeding? Anyway. See, I got distracted there. Sorry about that. What was I saying? Fuck. The weed, man. Short-term memory. That and being hit in the head. It's not a good combo. It's not a good combo. Fuck. I go through these phases during this quarantine. It's like some days I feel happy and things are going well, and you're like, fuck this is the new life. I'm happy. And, you know, like most days for the past week or so have been like that, because you go through those phases. Like for me, there was phases to this. And, you know, the first couple of weeks it was terrified, anxiety written, just horrible, like almost paralyzed, you know. And then after a couple of weeks, you know, it was, oh shit, okay, I don't feel as, what's this new reality? Let me check this out now. And then you're like, oh, okay, all right, this works out. And then you adapt, and you're able to kind of see things a bit clearer when you're looking at this, because you can't escape it. That's what is fucked up about this whole thing of this pandemic, is that we're going through this in an age where you can't escape news from it. You can't escape. It's on everybody. Everybody talks about it. It's all everybody talks about. And you can't escape it. Like, everybody, we all have our smartphones. We're all on social media for the most part. And it doesn't matter how often you go on it. If it's not that, you have your TV on the news, because you want to know what the fuck's going on, right? You want to know, like, is this thing going to kill me, or are we going to be okay? And you can't escape the news. And I remember a few weeks ago when all this started, when I was starting to feel better, I'm like, fuck social media. I can't. I told one of my friends that also deals with anxiety, and really great friend, like family, love her. And I told her, I said, you know, it's this anxiety thing. It's like, how did I explain it to her? It's like, at first I was petrified, number one, of getting it. But also, like, every day you get up, it's the first thing you think about. And then you get on your phone or you turn on the TV, and it's the first thing you see or hear about. Everybody's talking about it. To the point where you're like, you can't, there's so much information on this thing going left or right. Everybody's sharing shit. And especially at first when no one knew anything about this fucking virus, everybody was just like, holy shit, like, what is this? Is this going to kill us all? Blah, blah, blah. Like, people were petrified, and the media was not helping. Let's be fucking honest. Like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. There's a bit of me that will entertain a few things sometimes. But for the most part, I choose to see this like simply because I can't afford to be wrong about this. So my rationale brain says go that way and listen to the scientists and listen to the people saying to stay home. And I told her, to my friend, I said, a lot of my anxiety, I realize, is from social media. Like, Instagram's okay. Instagram, for the most part, it's just Instagram models showing their asses, and my friends posting ridiculous content, or just family, kids, all that stuff. There's rarely any post on the virus except for what people are doing during this pandemic. So, Instagram's all right. But Facebook and Twitter, Facebook is toxic completely. I realized that I have a few people that follow me, and we follow each other on Facebook. I'm like, holy shit, like you're like, wow. Like, I don't think we see the world the same way at all. And that's okay. But there's a few of you that are just straight out, you straight fucked up, But it is what it is. Twitter is completely different. Twitter is not only toxic, but like just vomit toxic. It never stops. Like you can go so deep on Twitter. It's like you can just click on one post with a few thousand comments, and you're like, let's go to... Let's see where the next 30 to 45 minutes takes me. And it just, you go down this rabbit hole of fear, whatever you choose to read about. But for the most part, you go on Twitter, it's fucking coronavirus this and COVID-19 that. And then it's the government, right? And I also think that social media and your devices kind of direct the content that they think you're going to want to read, or that might scare you, whatever. I think it reads everything your devices keeps track of everything you do, for everything you search, everything you read, everything you share, everything, right? So it goes, this guy shared a lot of shit about this. He's been reading a lot about this virus lately. Let's fucking, keep him attached, right? Fear, fear, fear. We all know the media does this. Some do it by sheer ignorance of not knowing anything, and just, for the most part, clickbaity shit where they'll put a fucking headline where you're like, holy shit, and you click on it, and the article has nothing to do with the fucking thing you read, the headline, and you're like, what the fuck? This is bullshit. And they just want the clicks, right? Because the more clicks, more money. So early on, I said, I can't be on it. So I removed myself from, I tried to slow down my usage of social media, especially Twitter and Facebook, because it was making me mad. And then one was making me nervous. One was making me mad. Like, if I went on Facebook and saw what I consider people that I know, like, very well share, I'd be like, dude, like, it makes me mad. Like, when I know that you got duped in thinking that what you're sharing is and not only that, but early on, no one knew anything about this thing, and everybody was just sharing shit, and some of it was just straight garbage, and it made me laugh, and it made me mad, like I said. And then you go on Twitter, and then you go like, oh, we're all gonna fucking die of this thing. It's not the coronavirus now, it's what the fuck, man. So anyway, my point was, I was talking to my friend, which also has, been dealing with anxiety, especially through this time. And I said, just stay off social. Actually, I think I said it on an episode of a podcast, and she listened to the episode and she texted me after. She's like, I'm staying off. That's what it is. So I've shared this fucking story before. Shit. Sorry. Wow. See, that's why I kind of I enjoy sometimes when I do solo podcasting, like when I really go solo, but sometimes I don't because I get lost. Sometimes let's be honest, smoked a bit of weed before this, so I kind of rambling on right now. My brain is like, I'm looking around, thinking like, what the fuck? Like, whatever my point was about social media, it didn't last long. I stopped going on Twitter for a while, and I actually noticed a difference when it came down to my, anxiety, because I'm like, okay. But, I started going slow. When I noticed that it was less than the news and everybody started being positive, like, hey, so many cases, cured, and the curve is flattening and all that stuff, and certain countries are getting back to normal. And all right, so I started going back on Twitter and started paying attention. But now these last couple of days, I'm just like, now they're just coming up with new shit to scare us. I'm like, has it always been like this, and I just never noticed? Where like the media constantly, because before all this, I did not pay attention to any of the news. I was never on Twitter. Twitter is my news source now for the most part. I think it is for a lot of people. I spend most of my time on Instagram and in the gym and at work, and it's like, was it always like this? I don't pay attention to the news. It's never on TV. I never have it on. I never choose to listen to it. I just disconnect myself from it, because I think it's like a defense mechanism where I'm like, you listen to that shit, you're going to, just be anxiety, riddled for the rest of your life. So now that I'm home and I'm actually paying attention to the news because I kind of have to, because of this COVID. Like, if it's not one thing, now what was I reading yesterday? They have killer bees are back. Killer bees from Asia. Didn't we go through this in the 80s or early 90s where killer bees were a fucking thing? They were making movies about it. Am I losing my mind here? Like, is the simulation like replaying, like running out of ideas? Like, what the fuck? Have you seen those things? They're massive. They're massive. Like, seriously, they're like 5, 6 centimeters long? Like motherfucker. Their dart or whatever, the thing that fucking jabs you with, is like a 1/4 inch. That can't be right. A 1/4 inch. Like a 1/4 inch. And it's got venom. It could kill you. Great. They've seen them in BC here in Canada, and it was seen on the West Coast, I think, in the States, obviously, and in BC. Now, they're killing, apparently, if they said that if this bee is able to, this hornet, it's a fucking hornet, killer hornet is what they call it. I said killer bee because that's what we went through in the 80s, right? As a kid. I'm not imagining, I'm not making this shit up, right? I don't know what I'm asking. I'm asking you guys. Like, there was this killer bee shit, right, in the 80s and early 90s. Now they got these killer hornets. Fucking Google killer hornet. You'll see that shit. It's like orange and black. Fuck, these motherfuckers look that they could straight kill you. They could, I guess, apparently. That's what the internet says. You gotta believe it, right? I might never see one of these fucking things in my life. That's the thing. Probably will never, ever, ever, ever fucking see one of those fucking hornets ever in my life. But I know they exist. Apparently, I have to listen to these things because someone on the internet said to somebody else that they saw them. Seriously, I won't, like, I have this part of my brain that's like been on the conspiracy side, and I try to keep it. It's the part of that brain that thinks that we live in a simulation theory. And it's also the part of my brain that's starting to think that, are we being duped here? Or is the media using this fucking virus to go, like, we lost control on these motherfuckers. Let's tighten the noose. Let's scare them. so so that we can control them, because that's what's happening right now, right? I think people aren't putting two and two together. You're scared. You're going to listen to what fucking the experts are going to say, right? And for the most part, I'm not saying the experts are wrong. They're not. I choose to believe they're right. I choose to believe the scientists tell you, like, this fucking virus can kill you. And you can have it and not show any symptoms and spread it to 10, 20 people in a 9 or 14-day period. Okay, I choose to believe that. Let's go. It's a thing. But I think you kind of have to realize that the media is using this, or the government might be going like, hey, let's scare these people, because when they're scared, they'll listen to us. So we have them. That's the conspiracy mind in my head. When I start seeing, when I see a week where coronavirus on Twitter isn't trending as hard and people aren't, it's not the first topic I see in the top trending, I see positive and uplifting things and people sharing and this and whatever you want, whatever you choose to, I got busy a couple weeks ago I got interested in the NFL draft. That took a week, 2 weeks, where I was every day watching, following, and living through these drafts. I'd never been interested in any of the NFL drafts before, but I was like, you know what? Fuck, I got nothing else to do, and I love sports. I love the NFL. Football is one of my favorite sports to watch. I'm like, yeah, I'm in. And there were so many interesting prospects and people that were going to get drafted. There was a lot of storylines, and it was like, obviously the media was jumping on it because it's the only thing in sports. So you're like, fuck, everybody was talking about it. It was way more amplified than it was before, obviously. So it got my attention, and it kept my attention for a couple of weeks. I don't know what else happened during those times, because the media, right? The news cycle is like 24 hours. It's a bit more now because every day is coronavirus. But it's like every month they'll be like, okay, we need to ramp this shit up. And then boom, coronavirus, boom, is back. Top trending. Now it can kill you this way. Now they can kill you by, what's this thing I read today? COVID toe. Google that shit. It's a thing. COVID toe, like your big toe. Now it's causing blood clot apparently in men from 30 to 40. Great. Fantastic. Something else I have to worry that I'm going to die about now. Right? Ever since then I read that shit, my toe's been tingling. It have a red spot on it now. I'm dying. Every day I'm just waiting for, my heart to just have a stroke now apparently. It gives men stroke. Like, are they learning new things about this? Or is it one case that the media got a hold of and all of a sudden it's a fucking thing? Like, who are you going to believe if you go into that way of thinking like I just did for the past 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes? Dude, you can go down this rabbit hole that can't stop, won't stop, can't stop, won't stop. And then you're fucked. You're fucked. You are F to the fuck. Because you're just going to get, everything gets amplified. Killer bees, fuck. They're bringing back killer fucking. Now, I'm not saying these things aren't real. I'm not saying these things aren't real. But if the news is not about fucking COVID-19, it's about killer hornets that can kill you now. And I've been seeing, and it's like, yo, Canada doesn't have enough cases. They seem to be going back to normal. One of their provinces, New Brunswick, now, all the cases gone down. Except for today. I think I read today they have one more case. They have one new case. They're going back to normal. They're starting to reopen schools soon. Oh, shit. Let's get their attention somehow. Hey, how about we say we fucking found... No, I won't say that. Now I sound like a conspiracy theorist. I'm just fucking saying. There's a part of my brain sometimes that chooses to go there. Maybe if I did believe in all that shit, I'd have less anxiety. You think about that too? If I chose to believe all, like, this is a hoax. Coronavirus is not a real thing. The government's just using that to control you and scare you. No. Go outside. If I started thinking like that and started really thinking, like believing that this thing ain't real, I wouldn't have any anxiety about it. I'd be viewed as an idiot, but I wouldn't give a shit for the most part. Who fucking knows? Who fucking knows? And it's just another thing that I realized that I was so disconnected from before. Like before this, my life didn't have time for the news and to pay attention what was the fuck was going on throughout the world. I knew because I'm informed enough to know what the fuck is going on for the most part. Australia was on fire. I knew about that. America almost went to World War III, apparently. I knew about that. But like, it feels like if we weren't going through COVID-19 and where regular life was going on right now, and I saw an article about killer hornets, I'd be like, cool. And if I saw it again the next day, and then the next day, I'd be like, okay, it's a thing. But I wouldn't think twice about it. And I don't think the media would give two shits about it, because they'd be like, who gives a fuck about hornets? You'd see it for one day and you'd be like, yeah, you wouldn't see it in the news. Like I said, 24-hour news cycle, right? But now they're like, God damn, just drill them. It's not their fault. They put the story out there, and then the people respond to it. And they get a lot of response, so they just keep cranking it out, right? People are just looking for shit now. Number one, everybody's paying more attention, so it's a fucking cycle, and you can let your brain go into that direction, and I can't, because I would never stop. I'd be on YouTube. I'd be a flat earther within 3 days if I let that part. Like, I already let it open. I leave it open for that small bit to like, hey, we're in a simulation theory, right? Like I've been saying a lot that recently, and like, fuck, it's a thing that I believe. Maybe. Maybe. Who fucking knows? Maybe I just smoke way too much weed and I'm just stupid and conkers. But if I do have that part of my brain that I allow to, dance a little bit sometimes and have fun. But I keep that door shut for the most part. Because if I open it up, you heard me rambling right there. Like, I could switch on a dime and I can convince myself of a few things that but I don't, because I understand that it's not just about me. I'm responsible for other human beings, and the rational part of my brain chooses to go with what I believe gives me the best odds of survival, basically, or of not getting sick and keeping my kids as safe as possible. And since the beginning of this, my family and I have stayed home. My kids haven't been anywhere except for outside to play for a bit and go on walks. They haven't interacted with anybody else, any other kids, and I won't allow them. I choose to go in that direction, to believe the scientists and to believe the government when they tell us, stay at home, that's what's best for you. That's where the buck stops for me. Because I don't need to look any further. I don't need to dig any deeper. Because if that option of just staying home and adapting to this new way of life is what I believe gives me the greatest odds of keeping my family, my kids safe. That's what I'm going to choose. I don't give a shit what anybody has to say about that. They can think and say whatever they want. It's my family. Me and my wife make the decision to follow protocol. That's where it stops. And I don't want to have any arguments about it with anybody. I don't want to discuss this virus anymore. I just want to make sure that my kids and my wife, my family, my outside family, everybody that I care and cherish, my friends, I just want to make sure everybody's safe and patient and healthy physically and mentally during these times for everybody. It's all I wish. And I think that if you allow yourself to go in either direction too deep, then you're not providing the best version of yourself, maybe. But that's just my fucking opinion, right? What the fuck do I know? It's not like I've been to school or studied this shit. It's my perspective. You know, I thought about something yesterday, and I thought about it because of The Last Dance. If you haven't watched the documentary, The Last Dance, if you're into sports, obviously, if you're into sports and basketball and you know who Michael Jordan is, you know what The Last Dance is. If you don't, it's a documentary. It's a 10-part documentary, ESPN. It's on Netflix. They release 2 episodes every week. They released episode 5 and 6 last week, this Sunday. And there's just something about Michael Jordan that's special. That's why he's in my top 3 athletes of all time. I remember following the Bulls and him during his runs, his championship runs, the end of the first three-peat, and I followed them through the whole 96, 97, and 8 championships. Huge fan. I just fucking love basketball. That's back then when I played high school basketball or tried to play high school basketball. I wasn't very good. I wasn't good at all, actually. But I love the sport. And if you know anything about Michael Jordan, you know what I mean. Like, he's a special athlete, and it's win at all costs. And I don't know if he said something or it made me think of something, but basically it made me realize where I went. We shouldn't worry about, I've been preaching this for a bit now. Like, we need to stop worrying about other people's feelings and thoughts about yourself. You need to set your standards. You set your standards, and if someone sees those standards as subpar for them, then they don't have to follow you. If your standards are below someone else's standard, that person doesn't have to follow you. And for the most part, the people that their standards are higher, they won't diminish what you're trying to accomplish for the most part. Maybe they will. But what my point is that you set your own standard. We're all responsible to set our own standards. And I think a lot of people don't set their own standards. They see someone else as their standard and they choose. And that's okay. But you still need to set your standards on what you think, who you think you need to be as a person, especially if you put it all together, right? You set your own standards. If you're inspired, you'll inspire the people that set lower standards for themselves, or that never set any standards for themselves, right? You'll inspire those people if you can inspire someone, it's going to be someone to go like, I need to be at his level. What do I need to do to be at his level? Like, that might sound like it's like, who the fuck do you think you are? It might sound like that. I don't care. You set your own fucking standards. And if someone thinks that those standards are below his, then that person doesn't have to follow you. And you don't have to worry about that person's feelings towards you or towards anybody else or anything else. You know, it's like when you're trying to live that way and you're trying to talk your way into that, it's not always easy, because we all have that predisposed fear of what other people, because we all somewhat care to a point of what other people think, right? And sometimes you're trying to do something and you're trying to do it to a certain standard. Like this podcast, for example. I'll give you an example, I see this podcast a certain way, and I want it. This is my podcast, and I choose to do it, provide it, record it, whatever way I choose to record it and do it as. So I set a standard for this podcast. Now, this standard that I set and provide people with through this podcast, for someone, it could be like, what is this bullshit? If someone sees this below their standards, again, they don't have to follow you. They don't have to listen to you. So people don't have to listen to me. I said this standard, if you choose to listen to this podcast, is because you have similar standards. Or maybe you have higher standards. And, you just find this podcast interesting and inspiring or motivating or whatever you choose, the reason why you listen to the podcast or anything you provide. It's like once you set those standards, it's set, right? So I set standard for yourself. You have to set standards for yourself and then not worry about, I guess that's my point. You have to set standards for yourself and not worry about anybody else's thoughts or feelings towards those standards. If those are the standards that you determined were the standards you wanted to have for yourself, and you're comfortable living with those standards, then they're yours. You're free to have whatever standards you want. God damn, I can ramble on. This fucking weed makes me talk. I don't know if I'm making any fucking sense. I probably lost a lot of you halfway through this shit. 58 minutes. Oh. Savages, I really fucking hope that you guys are safe. I really hope that you're taking this opportunity to have a positive impact on your life, whatever you choose to. I appreciate the fuck out of you if you've listened to me ramble all this time. I really do. I know sometimes I go on a tangent, especially when I'm by myself, especially when I, high. I wasn't planning on recording this long, but hey, shit happens. And I apologize if I'm boring you, but I thank you if you're still here listening. If you haven't done so, and this is the first time you listen to this podcast and you think this is awesome, or good at least, maybe a little bit, you think so? What do you think? Shoot me a message. Let me know what you think about the podcast. Let me know what I can do different. Let me know if you just don't want to hear me anymore. You know what? You don't have to, because you're probably not listening, right? Shoot me a message. DM me at Savage Paulson on Instagram, at Savage Paulson on Twitter. Podcast available anywhere you choose to listen to your podcast. Subscribe. Rate if you like it. the more you rate, the more you share, the more subscriptions I get, the more visibility this Savage Life gets. And the better I get at this. And it's all positive. If you've subscribed, if you've shared, if you've talked about this podcast, like I say every time and every episode, I appreciate the fuck out of you. I love you all. And I hope that these fucked up times will end soon. And we can all go back to hugging and kissing and spreading germs. Much love, everybody. Be safe.